Kip, what's up, man? It's good to see you. I know we've not been able to connect for the last couple of weeks, but it is good to see you, my friend. Your hair's a little longer. Your beard's a
Yeah,
little longer.
a little bit of comb. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. How's everything? How's your boy doing after his what was it, 6 weeks or something of like hiking around in the woods?
7 weeks in the wilderness. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's just say we picked him up and I wasn't sure if it was a homeless guy walking towards me.
I think I saw a picture. He had a beard and like his hair was super long. And
Totally. I'm
yeah.
like, have you washed your body at all or did anything cosmetic like over the last 7 weeks? He looked pretty rough. It was nice though. And he still smells like smoke after probably 10 showers. You still hug him and you're like, you still smell like
So
camp smoke. Yeah.
the real question I have is, does he like you or does he hate you? That's the real question.
Yeah.
Or both. Maybe it's both.
He loves all things, including his bed.
Yes, I bet.
No, he's in a really good place. Yeah.
So it
really
was good for him.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he would say the same thing?
Yeah, he would say the same thing. And
Wow.
interesting enough, he even like walked away from that experience kind of spiritually enlightened, which makes sense, but I didn't think about that being a thing for a 16-year-old, you know.
Oh, is he only I thought he was older, but
Yeah.
yeah.
16.
Wow.
Yeah, so he came back like with a new kind of spiritual awakening at the same time. So I'm
cool, man.
excited for him, and we now have and by the way, this is a kid that hated backpacking. I'd be like, hey, let's go camping. He was like, nah. He'd always constantly like, nah, I don't want to go backpacking. It's lame. Now he's like, yeah, let's go backpacking with nothing. That sounds like a fun idea, you know? So
well, he's just so
Super cool.
equipped to be able to deal with that.
yeah. It's
That's
awesome,
interesting,
man. At one point, yeah, man, there's so much stuff. I'm like, even stuff that he's taught me. I was like, man, I didn't even know this. I'm just excited. It's super cool. Just these boys more or less took care of themselves. You know, more or less they have food that they have packed food for the week. And it's like flour and like baking soda and rice. So if you want to eat it, guess what you got to do? You got to make a fire. And if you want to make a fire, well, then you better learn how to bust a coal with wood. Otherwise, you're not gonna,
because they don't have a lighter or a match or anything like that.
Nope. Nope.
So what were they using? A bow drill or what?
Yeah, bow drill only with yucca. Yeah.
Wow.
So the first couple of days, it's like mad scramble to figure out how to make a fire, so that way you can cook your food.
I've been watching these alone shows and things like that, and I'm yelling at the TV like, do this, do that, like I know anything about it. But I just think, man, once you get a fire started, don't let it go out. That's the biggest thing you can do. Just don't let the dang thing go out.
If you have to, yeah, to keep the good coal going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Holy cow, man. That's cool. I'm glad it went well for him. So he's 16. So what is he, a junior now? Or he will?
Yeah.
He is a junior?
He's a
or will
junior.
be?
He turns 17 in next month. So he's almost 17, but yeah.
Yeah. What a cool life experience, man. I think that's going to serve him pretty well as he moves into graduating and going out on his own and doing his own thing. You know, these ideas and these experiences of hardship teach us that we're capable of so much more than we thought we were. We live in these, man, life is easy. It's so easy. I made a post on Instagram this morning about how much I love the Maine winter. And the only reason I can say that is because I'm alive in 2021, not 1921.
Totally.
You know, because if it was 1921, I'd be freezing my balls off and I'd be neck deep in a bunch of snow and I'd be chopping wood, and
you'd probably have a kid that's already died, you know,
multiple
due to the weather.
Yeah. I would have had, 20 children by now. 10 of them would have died. We live in just amazingly easy times. And so anytime you can put yourself under voluntary hardship, that isn't necessarily dangerous, but just challenging and rough. Well, it just makes you a better person.
Well, and what's interesting is you said we live in amazing times. And then before that, you mentioned like confidence. And it's interesting how the easy times, they don't set us up to have confidence. Right? It's like my easy times are made possible due to everything around me. I don't have to do anything.
Right.
But it also makes me a victim of it all. And those things change. And all of a sudden my heater doesn't work in my house, or I don't have a match, or any of these other scenarios. All of a sudden it's like, you realize our dependency on the system, right? And not the system as the government, although that's a whole other conversation, but on our social constructs. I mean, we're so dependent on those things. And I think that's really what these boys get is like, I took care of myself,
Right.
and that's a huge, most people can't do that, let alone say that. And that says a lot. I think at least certainly in the space of masculinity, right? To be able to say you can do that for yourself.
I think so. Somebody asked me the other day about when did you feel most confident in your life? And I remember when I came back from basic training, I had never been more confident in my life than that, because I had just went through 4.5 months of hell,
Yeah.
and it painted a different perspective of every other thing that I had to deal with. And I remember even coming back from Iraq, I remember people complaining about the most trivial of just BS and nonsense. And I thought to myself, that's what you're complaining about? And now that's what I'm complaining about, because that was, holy cow, that was 2005. So that was 15 years ago. Holy cow, that's crazy. And so I've just like we all do, we've conformed to this life of ease and comfort, and heaven forbid this is actually one of the things that I tell people a lot about, the issues that people get upset about, especially in like the Twitterverse.
Yeah.
Where we don't have anything real to complain and like work against. So we make up dumb shit to be worried about, like the 27 different genders or whatever. Yep. Like if we go back to 1921, nobody was worried about what gender you are because you were too busy chopping wood for the winter.
Yep.
You actually had real things to worry about. And so we've created this life of ease where, because we don't have anything to worry about, we worry about dumb shit that actually has no relevance or bearing in our lives. It's pretty pathetic. And I think it'll ultimately be our downfall unless we put ourselves under voluntary strain. We have to do that, because that's what makes us tough. That's what hardens us. That's what teaches us resilience. That's what builds confidence, which gives us the capabilities and skill sets that we need to thrive in any set of circumstances, whether it's a life of ease like we have now, or look, I think about the Great Depression. Like, none of us has ever, except for those who were alive, during the Great Depression, none of us has ever experienced anything like that. But what's to keep that from happening in the next 2 weeks? That could very easily, very easily be in that sort of circumstance, especially with these the GameStop and all the different stocks that are going on right now, and which you've been offline for a little bit, but GameStop and the Reddit boys like manipulating the markets. That's going to change things. And there's nothing that would there's even talks of Iran getting nuclear weapons at this point. And some US general just came out and said that a nuclear war with China or Russia is a very real possibility.
Yeah. Well, in America, where's our money? We're borrowing like there's no tomorrow.
Right.
What happens when the debtor says, "Hey, I want my payments in full"?
Yeah.
Like we're not sovereign country.
We used to be able to say, well, F off, because you're not getting your money. You want to fight about it? Bring it on. Yeah. But we're even having a hard time. I just talked with Tim Kennedy the last week and a half or so, and we're even having a hard time enlisting men and women into the military, not because they don't want to necessarily, they're not qualified. Man, when I was 17, when I went through, I think it was called ASVAP, I think is the test you have to take to get into the military. And then you have to go through MEPS, which is like Military Entrance Processing Station or something like that. There's all sorts of acronyms, obviously, in the military. You had to do like 10 push-ups. It's like, what young man can't do 10 push-ups? A lot, apparently. It's pathetic. Like, we're raising a generation of just weaklings and pathetic wimps and cowards. And
Yeah.
I think at some point we're going to have a very rude awakening unless we get out ahead of it. This is actually one thing a lot of guys ask me about is like, when did you reach rock bottom? And, I talk with a lot of men about it's usually a point for men. Like for me, it was when my wife decided to leave and we went through our separation, or guys will talk about their divorces or their bankruptcies or their business going under, or a medical condition or illness they've been dealing with. And that was rock bottom for them. And so it's unfortunate, but I think a lot of the times we reach these low points in our lives due to external circumstances that frankly, a lot of the times are because of what we've created for ourselves.
Totally.
Um, but you don't have to wait until you're at your low to improve. You don't have to wait until a natural disaster or an emergency or an external threat or a looming divorce or a potential bankruptcy to get your shit in line. You just need to be a little bit more aware and realize that you're not as invincible as you might believe that you are right now, because you're king shit sitting at the top of your industry or career or whatever it may be. That ego is going to get in your way. And I don't care whether you look at it as God or the universe or however you decide to look at it, you will be humbled.
Yeah.
You can bring it upon yourself or you can ask for it to be brought upon you. And I promise you, it's better if you bring it upon yourself.
Yeah. One thing that you said earlier that I think is pretty profound, if you don't mind me reiterating it, is, and it's a quote that I heard years back, but it was like, everyone has problems. The key is to choose yours. And I think that's the identifier, right? When we don't choose a problem to go after, to make it our problem, right? Which really is purpose and fulfillment and something greater than yourself. If you don't go after that, you end up with problems.
Yes.
But the problem is blaming your boss and, oh, my life's going to fall apart if Biden gets elected or if Trump gets elected. Like, your problem are all these superficial items. Everyone has problems. The key is, did you choose it or are you a victim of them?
Mm-hmm.
And it's amazing that when we choose something greater than ourselves, all those minute things, like you were saying, aren't problems anymore.
Right.
Because you created perspective. And so, if like anyone listening is like, oh man, I feel like I'm drudging through drama in my life, it's because you're not about something. Pick a bigger problem. That's the tall tale sign. If you have drama in your life and it's family and all work is it means that you're not about anything. Choose something bigger than yourself and actually tackle that problem. Make it your problem.
I've never heard you say that. You're not about something. What a cool
It sounds a little mean. I'm not as mean as you. That's like,
yeah, you're the nice guy. You're the good cop. I'm the bad cop. I'm the dick. Yeah.
But it sounds, you're going to call me the nice guy. I was like, well, maybe. Yeah.
It sounds like something I would say. Maybe that's why I like it. No, it's
I like how you just took credit for something good I said.
Yeah, I'm
like that sounded just like me.
You probably learned that from me at some point, and you just like changed the verbiage a little bit to make it sound cool.
Yeah, totally.
No, I think that's right. What are you about? That's a very interesting thought. What are you about? You got to be about something. I gotta think on that a little bit, because that is a very interesting. That's a very interesting. The other thing I thought about too when you were talking about problems is you talked about changing your problems versus or choosing your problems is what you said. One of the things that I've talked a lot about is elevating your problems. So there was a point in my life where I was worried about making the mortgage payment. And I've told guys this, I would quite literally, no joke, wear a dirt track in my grass in the backyard, because I'd be walking around the backyard pacing, thinking about how I was going to make the car payment, the mortgage payment, put food on the table. We've been blessed in a way that, fortunately, I'm trying to be as humble as possible here, of course, because I think it's important to be humble. That's not a concern of mine.
Yeah.
Like making the mortgage payment isn't something I'm concerned with at this point, which is a blessing and a benefit, but also because I've spent so much time not thinking about making the mortgage payment, but thinking about better problems like, how am I going to serve more people? How am I going to help my clients? How am I going to serve more men? What features and benefits and programs can I offer that would add more value to people's lives? And because I'm thinking about these types of problems as opposed to like, how am I going to make the mortgage payment? The down problems of the bigger problem tend to work themselves out. It's like that
Yeah.
trickle down economy thing, like you worry about this up here
And that just gets
and
taken
all of
care
that
of.
just trickles
Yeah.
down and gets taken care of because you're elevating your problems up to here and not being in the trenches worrying about things that are are just kind of minuscule in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah. Which, and if you think about when you're worried about the mortgage pacing in the backyard, and by the way, I've been there. Like we
All of us
both,
have.
man, I mean, some of the most stressful times of my life, right, were during those phases. But um, you're not innovating.
Right.
You're not thinking about providing a better service. You're not thinking about how do I serve and do a better job at my job. You're not even focused on that, right? Which is the very thing that you need to be focused on to be able to get that mortgage paid.
Well, you're right. You're absolutely right. Another thing, though, is that if you're worried about that, you're going to jeopardize your morals and principles.
Yeah, that's a good point because that's
Right?
the focus.
Because look,
Yeah,
hey, if
that's
I
the
got to make my
priority.
mortgage payment, I'm going to lie, cheat, steal, beg, do whatever I can and jeopardize my own personal morals and principles in order to make the mortgage payment, because the mortgage payment in and of itself is the biggest challenge I've presented myself with.
Yeah,
So the ends justify the means, which I don't operate like that. I think the means are more important and the ends will just take care of themselves if the means are pure. So there's a lot of reasons why if you start elevating your problems, it's hard to see because you're like, Ryan, I can't think about that because my payment, my rent's due tomorrow. So it's very hard to think about it on that perspective. But once you start doing that, even if you just take a half a step back and evaluate what you're doing, why you're doing it, how you're showing up in life, these things begin to work themselves out. I was presented with an opportunity today. It was crazy, Kip. It was crazy, man. I had a phone call with an individual and we're working on some contracts and some things we're doing. I got offered a payment of what I used to make in 2 years. In 2 years of busting my balls. And I got offered to make this much money in a period of, several weeks. That's what I'm saying, man. Like, I don't say that to brag. I say, this is the power of elevating your problems, making them meaningful, making them significant. And then knowing that if they're up here, all the other stuff's going to take care of it. It will get taken care of. It has to get taken care of in order for you to be up here.
Yeah.
All right. Look, I know we're short on time today. We got 20 more minutes. Let's just do this today, Kip. Let's do a rapid fire Q&A session. We'll crank through as many questions as we possibly can. And this is going to be short, in your face, punchy, rapid fire. Let's do it.
All right. Sounds good. All right. Dakota goaltending. I listened to the podcast with Evan and it was really great. Can you discuss the steps to making the move? What were the difficulties and what advice do you have for navigating a similar move? How has it affected your kids? Any negatives?
So he's talking about the move to Maine. Again, I'm trying to do this rapid fire. So I want to do the question justice, but also be rapid fire. Several years ago, I had the opportunity to come visit Pete Roberts with Origin and his team. We were working together, doing some podcast advertising and things like that. And we had a connection. Came out here for a week-long jiu-jitsu camp. You were there, Kip. Matthew Arrington was there. We had a good visit. It was awesome. And I fell in love with it. Long story short, my wife and I came back. Pete invited us back. We came back out about this time 2 years ago, and we found a place that we loved, a beautiful home. We put an offer in on it. Long story short, the offer went through. We spent 6 months getting the finances and the offer and everything arranged. And then we moved out here. My wife and I had not always, but over the previous several years, talked about, potentially exploring and trying new things and going on adventures and seeing what life had to offer outside of our small home and town in southern Utah. I don't know if we'll be here for the next 2 years, the next 20 years, My kids have had an adjustment. They miss their friends, of course. They miss their old way of life, but we're very involved. We're very active with them. They have friends here. They have engagements and activities and things that they're part of. Um, and it's been overwhelmingly positive. My daughter would love nothing more than to move home, frankly. She wants to be home. She wants to be with her friends. Her one particular friend that she just loves, they're like two little peas in a pod. And I feel bad, that she can't be with that friend. But also, I see the value in learning and growing and spending time together and being part of the family. And we've drawn so much closer together and we've been on this adventure and we've tried new things and we've expanded and gotten better and just gotten a new perspective that I don't think we would have ever gotten in any other context. So overall, even though there's little pinpoints of pain, overall it's been a very positive, beneficial thing for the entire family. And, like I said, maybe in 2 years we'll move back. I envision at some point we'll probably move back to Utah. I don't think my wife and I were talking several weeks ago about this. We probably won't ever sell this property. This will become our second home or our summer home, and we'll come up here and we'll spend the summer here and go to the lakes and visit friends that we made. And this is a special place for us for sure.
Paul's Pipes, and I'm trying to find the question in this, but I'll read it anyway, and then maybe you can find it. So,
Okay.
anything harsh or abrasive as a strong winter seems like a catalyst for growth. It should make us sharper in all areas. I bought a plow for my truck, and I used the plow for my neighbor's driveway too.
Yeah. Yeah. So the post that I made, and the reason he's bringing this up is I said, there's just something special to me about Maine winters. We're going through what I would say is our first real storm here in Maine this
Yeah.
weekend, or this week rather. And I love winter here. It's cold and it's brutal and it's miserable and the wind's kicking up. And even today, you can see I'm bundled up. Like I'm cold, it gets cold even in
Yeah.
the house. We're on an old radiator system, but I love it. People are friendly and they're helping each other out, and you give a wave to the person who's plowing their driveway, or you help a neighbor plow his driveway. Just today, in fact, as I was plowing my driveway, my neighbor across the street was with his old snowblower, and he could get it done, but he was literally covered from head to toe in snow. And I just pulled out and I said, "Hey, let me just scrape this for you." He's like, "Man, that would be awesome." And I scraped it with my plow, my truck plow. It took me, I don't know, 2 minutes. It would have taken him an
Hour,
hour or
2
two.
hours. Yeah.
Yeah. And he's like, "Thank you so much." I'm like, "No problem." And then I turned down the road and we live on a four-way intersection. And there was this guy and his truck was broken down and he had his old, rechargeable battery pack or whatever. He's trying to jump his truck. And I said, "Hey man, can I give you a jump?" He's like, "No, I just got it. Thanks though. Appreciate it." And I think there's value. Again, this goes back to our earlier conversation about struggle. We don't have any hardship. And when you see people here in New England winters who are struggling and they're cold and they're chopping wood, there's a phrase out here that says you're either preparing for or dealing with winter. And when we're all
That's funny.
miserable, we band together and the bullshit that we fight about becomes less relevant because it just doesn't matter, because I'm just trying to stay warm, or I'm just trying to plow my driveway, or I'm trying to get to work and the roads are miserable or dangerous. It's different. I like it. And so he's
Yeah.
right.
Love it. Tom Bearded, I enjoy winter snow. Cold as well. Not that Oklahoma has the true. Okay, I should have skipped that one. All right, Jake 92096. How do I help my wife find things she is interested in? I have a few hobbies and I find myself doing them less out of guilt. I've tried just asking her what she even thinks that might be cool or interesting, but nothing. She likes she likes Netflix and sleep and work. She does suffer from anxiety and depression and is on meds, but I know there's got to be a way to help her. I know my wife, but when it comes to finding something she can do for herself, I'm at loss for her. Thank you all. Order Man has changed my life.
Cool. It's good to know that. I know this is tough when you have somebody who has maybe potentially mental illness. I don't want to paint that as a broad stroke though and say that she's mentally ill. That's not what I'm saying, but it
Yeah.
sounds like she's dealing with some depression and some things that make it, I think, harder. Yeah, I mean, maybe she likes Netflix and sleeping and things like that, but come on now. There's something that lights her up, right? There's something. There's got to be
There was
something.
something. Yeah.
Even if it's a show on Netflix and she really likes, the cooking channel on Netflix or whatever it is. Okay.
Or how many times there's something that lights us up, we don't do it because we don't have the confidence in ourselves to try it.
Yeah.
Or we're afraid or
Yeah. And
something else, right?
so you're right. And so what I hear a lot of guys will do. So here's a funny example is they'll say, well, how can I help? Well, I ask my wife how I can help all the time. Like, now look, I know when I ask my wife, hey, hon, how could I help? Okay, really what I'm asking is,
do I need to help?
No. I'm not even that. Not even that. That's even better than what's going through my mind. Through my mind is like, I just want it to appear as I'm being helpful, but I don't want to help at all. Because if you truly wanted to help, what would you do? You would identify a problem and then you would start working on that problem. You wouldn't need any direction. You would just do it. So the same thing applies here. My wife's not interested in anything. Is that the case, or are you just being lazy? Because she's probably interested in something and you just either haven't noticed it or you aren't willing to put forth the effort to foster it. Yeah. It just needs to be a little spark. She likes the cooking channel on Netflix. Buy her a cooking book. Hey, say, hon, you know what? I was thinking tonight, instead of watching Netflix, I was thinking, because I know you really like that cooking challenge show. I don't even know what show it is. I was thinking, I bought this cookbook for us, and I was thinking it'd be really cool to make dinner together. That's it. Like, that's literally it.
Yeah.
Or, hey, hon, you've talked a couple of times about wanting to, improve your fitness and get better. And so listen to my verbiage here, guys. This is going to save you. Yeah. Okay? Listen to my verbiage, please. So I bought us, not you. Listen to what I'm saying, because I'm going to save your life right here. Hun, I know you've been talking about wanting to get back into fitness. So I bought us. Let me reiterate, us, a yoga mat and a yoga block. And I thought we could do this together. Please heed my warning right there, gentlemen. Not I bought you a yoga mat and a yoga block. I bought us a yoga mat and a yoga block. And I bought the subscription to Dean Pullman's yoga app or whatever it is, because he's the guy that's been on the podcast and I like what he has to share. Okay. That's how you do it. Listen, observe, be present. There's something, guys. Or, you know what? Maybe when you married her 20 years ago, she was really into something and she stopped doing it because she got married and started popping out kids, or got inundated with her career, or any number of things that she just kind of let that go by the wayside and she doesn't talk about it anymore. Guys, be thoughtful. All right. Yeah. If you care about her, you're going to think and you're going to explore and you're going to ponder and you're going to think about what it is she's into or what she was into that she no longer says anything about. Why doesn't she say anything about it anymore? Maybe she feels guilty. She probably does. She probably loved to go back to knitting or painting or exercising or spending time with her girl. She would love to do that, but she won't say it because this is my wife, because she prides herself on being the best mother and wife and all of the other roles that she has, that she doesn't think it's good to explore these other things. She doesn't want to be selfish. So you have to instigate it. And it takes some thoughtfulness. But come on, like, don't say your wife is only into Netflix and sleeping. She's into more. And you are the man of the house. And so you need to identify what it is.
Well, and I'll give one to guys that probably 70% of their wives would be on board, and you sign up for dance classes and you go dancing with her.
That's too much, Kip. That's too much. That's too far.
It's true though.
It's true, but it's just too far.
Like all about it. But the answer is like, Oh,
No,
hell
you're
no. I'm
right.
not doing that. Yeah.
No,
You
you're
know, I
right,
love
man.
her, but we'll stick with Netflix. We'll watch Dancing with Stars instead or
Yeah,
whatever.
I don't mind that you're into Netflix and sleeping. Go ahead, hun. Keep doing that. Keep doing that. You're right. You're totally right. And that's a really good point. Sometimes it's like, yeah, I know what she would be into, but like that would be too hard on me and I don't want to do that. So it's a very selfish thing. Maybe, you talk with you're like, oh, my wife's only into Netflix. Is it that she's only into Netflix?
You're into Netflix.
Or is it that you're into Netflix and she's like, whatever, we could do that. Because I know if I told my wife, hey, hon, we're going to go out dancing tonight, she'd be like, game on.
Yeah.
Or if I said, hey, hon,
I can pull that number any day. And my wife would be like, all right.
Yeah. Or if I said, hey, hon, I'm going to drop the kids off at a friend's house tonight at 5. And it's just going to be you and me. And I figured we could cook together. We could bake together. We could, I don't know, go to a training session. Like what, I don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
She would be all about it. She would be all about it. And I know that's not just my wife. That's your wife. That's millions of guys who are listening. That's their wives as well.
Well, and here's the key though. And back to what you're alluding to is if you went to your wife and said, hey, honey, I was thinking maybe we should try something together. What do you think? That's different. Because then she's going to run her story of like, well, no, I got to do my things. And then it doesn't happen.
Right.
But you going, hey, honey, I got a babysitter and this is what we're doing. She'd be like, that's awesome. Right. That's the difference of initiative versus just, back to your analogy of, what can I do to help, question versus just doing it.
Exactly. All right. We got 5 or 10 minutes. Let's drive on.
Now we're all held accountable.
Now we're super rapid fire. We were rapid fire before. Now we're super rapid fire.
Oh yeah. That last question wasn't that rapid fire, by the way.
No, it wasn't.
Okay. So we're jumping, your thoughts, Benho, it's whatever, coach. Thoughts on cryptocurrencies?
Are you speaking English right now? I don't even know if you're speaking English right now.
These are Instagram names. Okay. I don't even know. Like, yeah.
All right.
Your thoughts on cryptocurrency and Bitcoin?
Look, I'm going to bring some experts on. I've got somebody working on getting us some experts for that. I own some crypto. I think there's some tremendous value in it. I think it should represent probably a portion of your portfolio because we want to be broadly diversified. I think it's becoming much more viable, especially with these Reddit boys and how they've manipulated the markets. And that's only going to create more financial regulation. So I love deregulated markets, and crypto is one of those deregulated markets at this point. We probably will see some regulation on those things. And at some point, we're just going to go to bartering and trading in back alleys at some point, I'm sure. But in the meantime, I own crypto, and I think it's a viable option for a portion of your portfolio. But we're going to be working on getting some experts in who could share more than I ever could.
Awesome. Stay tuned. All right. Nidra Hirt, how did you land on Order of Man? Were there any runner-up names that you had to choose from? By the way, I do love Order of Man. Just curious.
Yeah, it took me months, literally months. And I tried different names. I can't even remember the names, but I tried different names.
It'd be fun to see those at one point.
Different strategies. I reached out to a handful of organizations that owned websites that I really liked, but they weren't utilizing them. So I said, hey, can I buy this from you? And nothing worked. But the reason I liked Order of Man is because order is a bit of a dual meaning for me. Order as in we bring order and structure to who we are as men. That's how I operate best. And that's how a lot of the men who listen operate. But then also order is synonymous with organization, fraternity, brotherhood. And that's really what I wanted to create out of this. So not only was the meaning there, but also the website, all the social media handles and profiles were available. So I scooped them all up because as a marketer, and I am a marketer, naming and having the same names and having it uniform across different platforms is very important to me. So Order of Man was born. We trademarked it. Actually, I think copyright is the better term. So we copyrighted it and trademarked the logos and that thing and we were off to the races.
Oh, okay.
But it took me months, and I had I had lists of names that I could choose from, and I was checking them off the list. I like this, I don't like this, I like that. So here's
Yeah,
where we
it's a
settled.
tough world nowadays
It's
because
tough,
like
man.
you want that right domain with that name. So you
Yeah,
might come up with a great name, but the domain's not available. And you're like,
exactly.
damn it.
Yeah.
So, all right, Nagara, Jan, whatever. How do you second guess? How do you not second guess your decisions? How do you pull
should
off the
second
Ryan
guess your
Nickler?
decisions. You
Okay.
should. Why wouldn't you? That doesn't mean you don't pick one. You just pick one and then you act on it and then you evaluate it. And if it's still working, you keep going. But if it's not working, then you evaluate why it's not working and consider making changes. But why shouldn't you
There's
second
still a
guess?
level of commitment to the decision.
Of course.
Until like, because I think that's where people go wrong, right? It's like they make a
Yes.
decision, but they're half-hearted committed to it.
Right. And that's not a good mentality. So just pick the decision. Look, here's the deal. You're going to make decisions. Kip, you and I have talked about this. We're on the mountain. We're looking at the crest that we want to get to, and we start walking, and then we realize that's actually not where we want to go. But we weren't privy to that information until we started walking. So you just make the best decision that you possibly can and have a system for evaluation, and then evaluate it and decide, okay, no, we're still good. Or no, we got to pivot and we got to adjust and we got to change. But none of that absolves us of the obligation of 100% commitment to our course of action. So you make a decision, you commit 100% for now. That might be a week or a year or 10 years, and you just evaluate it. I don't know. In 5 years, I might not be doing Order of Man. I don't know, but I'm open to something different.
But you're committed to Order of Man until then.
I'm 100% in until that situation, that day arrives.
Yeah. Copy. We up on time?
Yeah, keep going. Let's go.
All right. One more. Bow hunter. What hunts will you and your son apply for and go on this year? What is your dream hunt? Rifle or bow?
Probably the bow. Always behind the bow, I think is more of a dream hunt of mine. We've got a pig hunt in Texas. We've got obviously some hunting around here this year. I just secured the rights for some hunting on the island of Molokai for axis deer. And we'll probably go to PA. We'll probably go to Minnesota. So I've got 3 or 4 hunts. My dream hunt is I would love to get to New Zealand and do some tar hunting.
What hunting?
Tar. It's like a mountain goat, similar to a mountain goat.
Yeah.
So something like that would be really cool. I'd really enjoy that. So we got a lot of hunts on the horizon. All right. What else we got?
Cool. Welcome home, farm, and TN. What types of activities do you recreational encourage with your children? Do you see these as different from the other kids in the country? Would you consider these things as masculine activities?
And a masculine activity is something that is competitive, physical in nature, and pits you up against some sort of challenge. That's a masculine activity. And by the way, that isn't exclusive to boys. Women can do that as well. Yeah. Young girls, jiu-jitsu. That's a masculine activity, right? Like nobody would deny that's a masculine activity, but your daughters are involved in jiu-jitsu. My daughter's involved in jiu-jitsu. So I'm not saying that women can't do it. I'm just saying it's a masculine activity.
Yeah, typically. Yeah.
Right. It is. Like it is 100%. When a woman is engaging in even any competitive sport, it's a masculine activity. 100%. There's never an exception to that rule. That doesn't make her less of a woman. I'm just saying it's a masculine activity.
Yeah.
That's how we look at it. So what do? We do jujitsu every day. We're doing some jujitsu, whether professional and organized instruction or just us rolling around on the mats in our house and doing it that way. That's something we do every single day without fail. My oldest son and I are building a canoe. We walk around the yard. We're working on hunting. We're working on, we build Legos together. That's not a masculine activity. That's just an activity that we enjoy. We do it all. Art. I mean, we do everything. It's not any
tubing. Follow Mr. Mickler on Instagram, and then you'll know of all the activities. That's
tubing.
At Ryan
Mickler.
Like
sledding, you mean?
Yeah, sledding. Yeah.
We need to get some. Yeah, no, we have an awesome sled hill on our property, so we do that during the winter. All right, keep going. Let's go. Couple more.
All right. Woodstring. How do you believe that there is a movement? Why do you believe that there's a movement by the leftists towards labeling every part of their own identity? I am a blank. I've never felt the need to label my identity except to say that I am a brewer by trade.
Well, that's an identity.
Yeah. So
But
maybe just the nature of it. Why is this so critical? Why do we?
well, because we always want to put ourselves in tribes. We always want to put ourselves in camp. It's tribalism, exactly.
Yeah.
And it requires less thought. Like if I'm a conservative, then I don't have to think. I can just follow conservative and I just vote straight party conservative. If I'm a liberal, I don't have to think. I just vote liberal.
No critical thinking required.
None
just
required.
Follow the tribe.
Yeah. If I'm
of sheepism. Yeah.
Right. If I'm a Buccaneers fan, then like, okay, well, I never have to think about anything else. Like Bucks, yep, all the way, 100%. It's like it requires less thinking. Yeah. It's actually very convenient. And aren't we as humans always looking for patterns of convenience to absolve ourselves of having to do any sort of difficult thinking or introspection into who we are and how we show up?
And to easily associate ourselves with others without effort.
Right. Now, I think there is a movement to paint ourselves as victims. And so there's a lot of victimization in these movements as well as like, well, I'm Black, and so I'm a victim.
Yeah.
What does that mean? I'm a woman, and so I'm a victim. I'm a trans person, and so I'm a victim.
Yeah.
No, like trans is a decision you've made. Black is just your skin pigmentation. Woman is just your gender. Like that doesn't paint you as a victim. Have there been crimes and things perpetuated against you? Sure. Yeah, of course. Like I don't think anybody would deny that. Like racism, for example. I don't deny that there's racism out there. Do I believe there's systematic racism? I don't know. Show me what system, like give me a specific example. What system today perpetuates the idea of racism?
It's all around you. So you're not
no
privy to it.
Like, I know you're saying that tongue in cheek. Like, I want to know, like, okay, educate me.
Oh, man.
That's the thing. Like, get educated. Okay. Educate me. What?
Critically think. Yeah.
What law or rule or way of life, like what specifically? And I would like to know. And if it's there, like we probably,
let's talk about it.
I think we should address it.
Yeah.
Most of these issues and I believe that at some point we did have some systematically racist policies in place. Of course, I won't deny that. But you point to me right now, what system, what process, what rule, what law is in place that perpetuates the idea of racism, and I will be happy to entertain it, address it, talk about it, deal with it. Oh, no, that's the answer you just said, Kit. It's all around you. Okay, so like, where do we start? Tell me. We just can't be racist anymore. How? Tell me. I want to be informed. Please educate me. Well, you're just saying that because you're... I legitimately like
you're white.
If there's something there, like, let me know. Guys will say, well, we had a guy in the Facebook group talking about women. Oh, women. Oh, this. Oh, they've been treated so horribly. Blah, 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 blah. Yes. In the past, they couldn't vote. There was a tragic situation. Of course. Yes. I'm not denying that. But show me specifically where society has said that women are to be treated inferior, that there's laws against the way that women show. Like, show me. And then I'll talk about it and address it and deal with it as a man should. Well, it's just everywhere. It's all around. So it's nowhere. That's what you're saying. If it's everywhere, it's nowhere. Point me, educate me, teach me, and then we will discuss it and we'll come up with better solutions. But I honestly believe there's a part of tribalism and there's another part of victimization where you could just lump yourself in a category and say, well, because I'm this, because I'm Black, because I'm a woman, because I'm this, because I'm that is just have less advantages. Or alternatively, it could just mean that you're not doing what you should be doing.
Yeah.
It could actually just mean that.
Yeah.
How dare you? That's sexist. That's misogynistic. That's racist. No, it's not. It's just saying you're not doing what you should be doing. And I don't care if you're Black or white or purple or brown or gay or trans or lesbian or whatever. You're either doing the work or you're not. And that's it, period. Bottom line, end of story.
Well, and we need to choose our tribes. Like, think about it. Like, okay, I'm going to join a tribe based upon what? Values, principles, what's important in my life and how I should live a good life and what's fulfilling and what's best for my family. No. You're going to join a tribe just because you look the same. Really? Or you're going to join a tribe, you're going to, by default, someone else likes the same football team as you, and by default, you guys have great things in common. That's the tribe you want to join? Like, they're all superficial. Right. And so we join these tribes for the sense of belonging without any evaluation of the tribe itself.
Yeah. Yeah. Good point. And we take the talking points, right? So we'll take the highlighted talking points and say, oh yeah, like liberal, like we believe in making sure everybody's, happy and feels welcome and inclusive. And that actually sounds all pretty good to me. To me, as a conservative, that actually sounds pretty good. But then you get down to it and you're like, okay, well, there's some other things here. And then conservatism, like we're the party of capitalism and free markets and individualism and making sure that we have freedoms. And that all sounds pretty good to me. I like that as a conservative. I like that. And then you get down to it, you're like, okay, well, maybe there's some things that we could do ourselves to make sure that we're handling things correctly. But no, that's nuance. Heaven forbid we think about it a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, look at like women associating or identifying themselves as feminists. Like, is that tribe doing what's best for you? If you identify yourself as a Republican, are those people of your tribe actually great representations of what it is to be Republican? Maybe not.
Or the values that underlie what it means, right? The values.
Exactly.
Yes, for sure.
Like the talking points are different than what the tribe's actually doing.
Right.
Right. And we've talked about this around BLM earlier this year. It's like, is that a tribe you want to associate with? Are their values really in line? Or you just grabbed some of the talking points and jumped along?
Yes. Yeah. Nuance.
Crazy world.
Nuance, man. Nuance. It's so important, yet so often overlooked and underutilized. And social media has made it that way, which is
And interesting
for me to say, because I make my living on social media. Yeah. But that is one of my biggest critiques of social media is I can make a post and I can make a one-liner and that sounds really good. I'll give you an example. Posted on Twitter today.
At Ryan Mickler.
At Ryan Mickler. Let's plug that. And I said, my evaluation of quote unquote good government is that it does as little as possible to interfere with the lives of its citizens, not as much as possible. That's, I don't know, what is that? 60 characters? Is that the breadth of my thought on what makes a government good and moral and decent?
There's so much detail to that. Yeah.
Of course not. Of course there's so much more to it, but I'm rewarded on Twitter and any of these other platforms to be polarizing and short and pithy. And so I play the game, but there's more to it. And that's why nuance is so important. All right. We got to wind things up. I know you're busy. I'm busy. I got to jump on another podcast here. So let's close this thing out, Kip.
Yeah. We already mentioned this, follow Ryan on Twitter and Instagram at Ryan Mickler or on Facebook. Join us on the Facebook group. That's facebook.com/group/Order of Man, or in the Iron Council. If you have no idea what that is, look it up. That's our exclusive brotherhood. That's orderofman.com/Iron Council. And as always,
you have no idea what the Iron Council is, get educated.
Yeah, you know what? Well, we have new listeners all the time. So I'm giving credit to the noobs. Get educated. But the other thing is too, like you had a Friday field note about like culture, right? And it's like, guys, get connected, right? Join our tribe. If our values and what conversations we're having is aligned with what you're doing, and spread that message, the message of critical thinking, and thinking through things and finding people with a common purpose and fulfillment in life so we can better show up in our lives. And you do that by subscribing to the podcast, subscribing to the YouTube channel, supporting us in the store.orderman.com, and of course, following Mr. Mickler on Instagram and Twitter. So join us, band with us.
Yes, sir. All right, guys, we got a jet. Appreciate you being on this path. Let's see. Next week, we're going to be talking with Tim Kennedy. I've got a interesting podcast about communicating with your wife this Friday. So make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any of these podcasts. But other than that, guys, go out there, take action, become the man you are meant to be.